This video is on Transfer Pricing Audit Report in Form 3C-EB. Form 3C-EB is required to be filed by taxpayers engaged in any international transaction or certain specified domestic transactions with an associated enterprise. As per Section 92E read with Rule 10E, an assessee who has entered into an international transaction or specified domestic transaction during the previous year with an associated enterprise is required to file Form 3C-EB, and any income arising from an international transaction shall be computed having regard to the arm's length price. As per Rule 10E, every assessee who has entered into international transaction or a specified domestic transaction shall obtain a report from a chartered accountant in Form 3C-EB, and the form is required to be uploaded by the chartered accountant using digital signature certificates. So therefore, in order to file Form 3C-EB, both the chartered accountant and the taxpayer should be registered on the e-filing portal. Both of them should have valid user ID and password. The status of PAN of the taxpayer should be active. The taxpayer should have assigned Form 3C-EB to the chartered accountant, and the chartered accountant should have valid digital signature certificate registered on the e-filing portal. Process to fill Form 3C-EB is that the form is required to be assigned by the taxpayer to a chartered accountant. It is then required to be filled and uploaded by the assigned chartered accountant, and the same is then required to be accepted and e-verified by the taxpayer for it to be submitted successfully. Let us first look at the form at a glance. Form 3C-EB has 4 parts. In Part A, the taxpayer is required to provide general information about itself and to provide the aggregate value of international transactions and specified domestic transactions. Part B requires the taxpayer to provide the details of associated enterprise and the international transactions entered into during the financial year. Part C requires the taxpayer to provide the details of associated enterprises and of the specified domestic transactions entered into during the financial year where the aggregate value of such transactions exceeds Rs 20 crores. On the verification page, the chartered accountant provides a certification of all details provided in the form. Form 3C-EB can be filed and submitted either through online mode or through offline utility. Let us look at the steps to file and submit Form 3C-EB through the online mode. The first step is assigning the Form 3C-EB by the taxpayer to the chartered accountant. In order to assign the form, the taxpayer is first required to log into the e-filing portal using user ID and password. On the taxpayer's dashboard, click on e-file, go to Income Tax Forms and file Income Tax Forms. The taxpayer can find Form 3C-EB and click on File Now. The taxpayer is required to provide the assessment year and assign CA using the My CA service. If the chartered accountant is already assigned by the taxpayer, details of Form 3C-EB pending with chartered accountant for filing and acceptance will be displayed. If chartered accountant is not assigned, then the taxpayer can assign the chartered accountant by choosing from the existing list of previously assigned chartered accountants from the drop-down menu. If there is no CA added, the taxpayer can add a CA by clicking on Authorize Partner tab on the dashboard and then go to My CA and add a new CA. After assigning the form to a chartered accountant, you are required to attach the supporting documents and click on Continue button. The form is successfully assigned to the chartered accountant. The taxpayer will get a transaction ID for future reference. The second step is filing of form by a chartered accountant. So now the chartered accountant is required to log into the e-filing portal using valid CA credentials. On the chartered accountant's dashboard, click on Pending Actions and go to Work List. In the chartered accountant's work list, under For Your Actions tab, click Accept or Reject the request. If the chartered accountant chooses to reject, it will be required to provide the related reason. On rejection, email and SMS communication will be sent to the taxpayer in the email ID and mobile number registered on the e-filing portal, providing details of reasons for rejection. Once the chartered accountant accepts the form, a success message is displayed. The chartered accountant is required to click on Back to Work List. In the chartered accountant's work list, click on File Form and select the mode of filing, and then click on Continue button. On the instructions page, the chartered accountant can go through the instructions and then click on Let's Get Started. The chartered accountant is required to fill in all the required details and then click on Preview button. On the preview page, click on Proceed to E-Verify and then click Yes to confirm. The chartered accountant can also add unique document identification number if applicable and click on proceed. However, you will note that presently the UDIN box is grayed out as the feature will be enabled shortly. You may still go ahead and file the form by selecting I do not have UDIN, I will update later. Once the UDIN feature will be made available for all the forms, you can update the same on the portal. If the chartered accountant clicks on proceed button, it will be taken to e-verify page where it can e-verify using digital signature certificates. After successful e-verification, a success message will be displayed along with the transaction ID, and a confirmation will be sent to the email ID and mobile number of the taxpayer registered on the e-filing portal. The third step is acceptance of the file form by the taxpayer. Now again, the taxpayer is required to log into the e-filing portal using its user ID and password. Now this time on the taxpayer's dashboard, click on pending action and go to work list. In the taxpayer's work list, under for your action tab, select accept to accept the uploaded form by the chartered accountant, or alternatively select reject and provide rejection comments to reject the form. If the taxpayer chooses to reject, it can provide the related reason. On rejection, email and SMS communication will be sent to the chartered accountant, providing the details of the reasons for rejection. On selecting accept, the taxpayer will be taken to the e-verify page. After successful e-verification, a success message is displayed along with the acknowledgement receipt number. An email confirming successful submission of your form is sent to your email ID and mobile number registered on the e-filing portal. Let us now look at some of the do's and don'ts to avoid errors in form filing and verification. Kindly ensure to use the latest version of the utility for creating JSON. Ensure that the PAN of the taxpayer, assessment year, CA membership number, form filing type are correctly entered in the utility and selected on the portal. Install the latest emSigner application in your system. Log in the DSC token. Profile and contact details of the taxpayer and the chartered accountant should be updated in their respective logins. Check local host eMudra is not blacklisted by the system admin and DSC token driver is updated. Filing Form 3C EB is very easy. To know more, you may visit our website www.incometax.gov.in or contact our helpline numbers.